But we all share humanity, see? But notice what I just did. I took all what we shared and I brought it and I universalized it in my brain. I said, that's what we all share. Now, the very first problem that you come up with after Thomas Aquinas is William of Ockham, who sits there and takes that a few years after St. Thomas Aquinas dies and sits there and says, you know what? There is no such thing as humanity in and of itself. There's no vat somewhere where you would go and you look over the lid and say, oh, that's humanity. And so you take some of humanity and you put it into this body, see, and make a human being. What's a nominal Catholic? When I say nominal Catholic, what do I mean?
By name only.
By name only, exactly. By name only. Nominalism came from William of Ockham, and nominalism, he was the kind of the father or the founder of nominalism, and nominalism is simply, that's just a name, it has no reality whatsoever. So now imagine getting rid of that particular universal reality that we have. You're destroying Thomas Aquinas right at the heart of what he is and what he's doing.
To take that and make it very applicable to today, not only are there no trees, there are no oak trees, because those are universals.
Yes,
Tree is universal and oak tree is universal. So they're all, none of them are that. They're all just individual, unique plants.
Now notice how that affects us. If we really believe
It really
that.
complicates things.
Oh, yeah. How about all the young people going around and saying, you know, I'm number one. If you're in my circle and on my Facebook and I befriend you, then you mean something to me and you can circle around my egocentric circles, all right? Now, you can do the same thing, but I really don't care what you do unless I want to be befriended by you, you see. Basically, the young people of today are taking philosophies that were founded 700 years ago and up to the present day, and they're running with them without knowing what they're doing. Okay? And that's why we need to re-teach philosophy in high school and actually really teach it rather than just play around with it. Because then young people would really realize that Immanuel Kant is playing right into their idea of reality, in a sense. Immanuel Kant, getting back to him, there are a couple of good things about him, and some really goofy things, right? One of the good things is, he came up with personalistic norm. How did he do that? It's what John Paul II calls the personalistic norm. Now, what is the personalistic norm? It simply means that you are a human being, and I recognize that, you recognize I'm a human being. I cannot use you in any way, shape, or form for what I want from you, okay? I can't use you to get ahead in work. I cannot use you sexually. I cannot use you as an object. How did he ever come up with that? Immanuel Kant, because he was so down on sex and sexuality to begin with. How did he come up with that? This way. To him, personal freedom was the most important gift of all gifts. And it was the personal subject that really gave that autonomy to the person. In other words, I'm in charge of my own autonomy. Yes, I'm autonomous. Okay. Heteronymous means somebody else is messing with me and saying you have to do this or you have to do that. Autonomous means I'm it. Okay. So I'm shining as a personal subject, right? Well, if I say that, and I say that's the most precious thing in me, then I have to say it about everybody else. And if the minute I do that, then I'm past utilitarianism. See, he had a problem with utilitarianism, which came, you know, lock, stock, and barrel from the way Francis Bacon and Descartes and all the dualists were coming down the pipe. If I am the subject and I'm making reality out there through my subjectivity, then I'm sitting there looking at you and you say, you know, you're only as good as I want you to be, and therefore I'm gonna use you. So it's automatic, it's just automatic. Utilitarianism, it's just automatic. Kant saw that and said, nah, we can't go there. So he dreamed up this personalistic norm. John Paul II takes that and hooks onto that. The other thing is that Kant says that in marriage, you actually are giving up yourself to another person. That's actually a fact, that you're actually giving up yourself to another person. Now Kant says, ooh, that really makes me nervous because that's not good. Because the minute you do that, you lose your autonomy. You lose your personal freedom, see? So, John Paul II comes along and says to Kant, yes, on the personalistic norm. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take your next principle, meaning, yes, you give yourself in marriage to the other person, and in a sense, you're the other person's property. But then Wojtyła / John Paul II takes it one step further, and he says what? He says that what trumps autonomy and personal freedom for John Paul II?
Love.
Love. It's love that trumps that. And love, by its very nature, is a giving of self. So it's totally the opposite of trying to become this autonomous person. Totally the opposite. But he loved, I mean, he taught Kant when he was a professor at Lublin and Jagiellonian University, and he loved Kant. I mean, he knew Kant backwards and forwards. So anyway, but that's basically what you're dealing with Kant. Let's keep going. What do we got here as far as time? We got a half an hour, okay? Notice on 43, page 43. You see that bottom paragraph there? John Paul II develops a strikingly similar line of thought. You see that? Quote, the human family is facing the challenge of a new Manichaeanism